Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final part of my top 5 trilogy. We talked about Thwart events, we talked about attack events. Now it's time to talk about some of the unsung heroes of Marvel Champions, the defense events. I know what you're thinking. Unsung heroes, that's not possible. This week we are going to be talking about my top 5 favorite defense events. This list is very subjective. It is actually really difficult. When you sit there and really kind of break it down, you're just like, oh man, like there's actually a lot of really good events, and there's a lot of stinkers too. But this week, let's just look at the events that can uniquely keep you alive when the villain is trying to rain down fire on you. They're trying to be the boogeyman. They're trying to pop up and show. My number 5 right off the bat is Mass Increase out of the Vision pack. It is a 1-cost event, defense superpower. Use only if Vision is in his dense mass form, and it is a hero interrupt defense. When Vision defends, prevent all damage from that attack, stun the attacking enemy after this attack resolves. This could probably have been much further up my list if it wasn't for the fact that this is exclusive to the dense mass form. That is thematic. That definitely gets to the point. That's definitely why it hit my list, was that it could be higher as a just looking at it objectively if it didn't involve a form, but it makes the list because it does. This is a very powerful event, and the ability to just this isn't a backflip, which I'll even say backflip was definitely a contender. It's out of the Spider-Man Corset kit. Did not make the list just because I've played with it so much, and it doesn't impress me anymore. So very similar to that, this just stops all damage, but it has that additional thing of stunning the enemy so that, yeah, you've blanked an attack, but you're going to blank the next attack too. And I like Vision. He's not maybe my favorite hero, but I think that he's got some gems, and Mass Increase is one of them. Next up, we have Cross Counter, which is a 1-cost event out of the Gamora pack. It is a attack, defense, thwart traded card. So this could have been an honorable mention on every single list. But what I love about it the most is, especially for Gamora, I love that it's got all these traits. It's a hero interrupt, attack, defense, thwart. When you would take any amount of damage, prevent 3 of that damage. Deal 1 damage to an enemy, remove 1 threat from a scheme. And why this is important is this is like a god tier card for Gamora. Not only are you blocking what could be all the damage from the villain, or from a strategically placed enemy, a minion, but this also deals a damage. So suddenly Gamora's card abilities go off, and she removes a threat. And then it also removes a threat from a scheme, which means that her other ability goes off and deals a damage. And this is important because this is all happening during the villain phase. Now, granted, you could very well have her in protection. You could bait and switch into Cross Counter, and you would definitely be able to do this during the hero turn. But being able to do this during the villain phase and get off all of her abilities at once, so that you can then move into the player phase and do it all over again, this does everything that Gamora wants to be able to do. It blocks damage. Basically, without saying it, is prevent 3 damage, deal 2 damage, remove 2 threat from a scheme. And that can take the wind out of the sails for the villain so easily. And I just love it for that. And that's why it is my number 4. It makes the top 5 because it's just great. And like I said, it could have been an honorable mention in the other lists. Moving on to my number 3. That is Preemptive Strike. A 1-cost event, defense, hero interrupt, defense. When a boost card is turned to face up while the villain attacks, cancel all boost icons on that card. Then deal 1 damage to the villain for each boost icon canceled this way. What I love about this card is that it gives you a lot of reliability. You know how much damage you're going to be taking. You pretty reliably know how much damage you're going to be taking. You're not going to get surprised by a bunch of boost icons. But when those boost icons do come up, and sometimes they come up, at this point I think we are getting to the point where there are cards with 4 boost icons on them. They're very rare, but they're there. But those times when you see 2 or 3, and suddenly you say, nope, I'm not gonna take the extra damage. In fact, you villain, you're gonna take that damage. And this helps to break toughs when you need it. It breaks toughs on the villain phase, which is nice. But then additionally, this also just helps because it puts that extra damage that sometimes you barely lose by the skin of your teeth. Preemptive Strike makes it so that suddenly that number, the villain hit points, is 2 lower. I love it for that. I love the fact that this is just a very tricksy card. It makes me feel smart when I play it, and I don't often get to feel smart. So any chance that I have, I'm definitely going to take advantage of. And that's why it is my number 3. Moving on to my number 2. That is Desperate Defense. And this is a card that's kind of a archetype defining card. There are other cards like this that do very similar things. I should probably get to what the card does real quick in case you're not watching the video, which if you're driving, don't watch the video. Desperate Defense is a 1-cost event defense traded. Hero Interrupt Defense. When your hero defends against an attack, it gets +2 defense for that attack. If you take no damage, ready your hero. So this is just nice because it's archetypical. You defend and suddenly you don't take any damage, you get to ready your hero back up. That is a little bit of a gamble, but when you're bumping up your defense, you generally can feel pretty confident. Okay, I'm defending for 4 now, I'm defending for 5. I'm not going to take any damage. This is very archetypical of other cards that say when you take no damage, you remove 2 threat from the main scheme, or you deal 2 damage to something, or what have you. Repose. What's Repose again? It's a newer card, so I don't have it stored in my memory here. Repose is if you take no damage, deal 3 damage to the attacking enemy. So yeah, Desperate Defense is kind of the proto version of all of this, and I think it's one that I think gets a lot of use because it's very applicable to everything, whereas the other ones kind of have their situations where you would prefer to, okay, yeah, it'd be nice if I could stun, it'd be nice if I could remove some threat, it'd be nice if I could deal 3 damage, but readying is very dependable, and that's why I think this card is kind of representative of all those cards, but this is the one that they use the most. Love Desperate Defense. It plays into the protection, just general archetype, being able to ready up on the spot, and yeah, I just love it. And that brings us to my number 1, which is really what kind of started this entire trilogy, and that is Wiggle Room out of the Ms. Marvel pack. Obviously, Mass Increase is a better card than this for the most part, but Wiggle Room, being a 0-cost event, defends a superpower with a Hero Interrupt defense text of when you would take any amount of damage, prevent 3 of that damage, draw a card. Obviously, Mass Increase is better than this in the fact that it just stops all the damage, but in Ms. Marvel, this is a card that could very well prevent 6 damage and draw you 2 cards. 0 is so important for this card. Being able to buy it back with Ms. Marvel's ability, or to just be able to cantrip it, you play it out, you prevent some damage, you draw a card, it replaces itself. That is so good, and I love what this card does. It's such a crutch. It helps me out in so many ways, and I just love it for what it is. And once again, like I said at the beginning, this is a very subjective list. This is how I feel in this moment. On a different day, maybe this wouldn't be my favorite defense event, but when I think of defense events, I think of Wiggle Room just because it's so much fun. And then the next thing I think about is Desperate Defense. But yeah, I love Wiggle Room. I love that it isn't a hero that I feel like is constantly redefining herself. Ms. Marvel was a fairly good hero with the beginning card pool, but as it expanded out more and more and more, she's only gotten better, and Wiggle Room is one of those standby cards that it's always going to be there, and it's just going to help you, and she's pretty fragile, so being able to prevent 3 to 6 damage is just great. And yeah, I just love it, and that is my list. So what is your favorite defense traded card? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will catch you on the next list. Thank you very much, and have a great day.